As mentioned before, adaptive immunity involves lymphocytes called B cells and T cells. In this video, we're going to talk about where these B cells and T cells come from and how they mature. Both of these cells develop from stem cells that originate in the red bone marrow. The B cells complete their development in the red bone marrow, and what this means is that they will become immunocompetent, that is, acquire the ability to perform immune functions while in the red bone marrow. On the other hand, T cells develop from pre-T cells that migrate from red bone marrow to the thymus. Pre-T cells come from the red bone marrow, but then they travel to the thymus. While they are in the thymus, they become immunocompetent, and then they are mature T cells. There are two kinds of T cells that we're going to take a look at in more detail later. These are called helper T cells, otherwise known as CD4 T cells, and cytotoxic T cells, otherwise known as CD8 T cells. Immunocompetence, as just mentioned, is the ability to carry out adaptive immune responses. And in order to do this, B cells and T cells have on their surface proteins known as antigen receptors. These are the receptors that will identify, that is, recognize a specific antigen. This picture illustrates a lot of details related to the immune response, but we're only going to mention those features that were mentioned in the previous slide. Again, both B cells and T cells originate in the red bone marrow, and in the red bone marrow, the B cells become mature, that is, they acquire immunocompetence. On the other hand, pre-T cells come out of the red bone marrow, travel through the bloodstream, and then go into the thymus gland, which is found right in front of your heart. While in the thymus gland, they become immunocompetent, that is, they become mature T cells. There are two kinds of T cells: cytotoxic T cells, otherwise known as CD8 cells, and helper T cells, otherwise known as CD4 cells. These are proteins, the CD8 and CD4, that aren't antigen receptors, but rather are other kinds of proteins that are involved in the immune response.